Good day, mates. Today is January the 14th, 2025. I should have made this video yesterday, but I'm kind of under the weather. So, I have a lot of mucus and stuff running. And, I just, no, I'm not going to make it today. But yeah, so yesterday was January the 13th. And before I start this very short video, for Black America, January the 13th is a historical day. For those of us who don't know, January the 13th, 1970, you had 3 black inmates in the Soledad State Prison gunned down. So let me read from you my notes. See, some of us who are more politically astute in, the tenets of revolutionary black nationalism or new African revolutionary nationalism, see, we know about these historical dates. And what I think I'm going to do in the future is that, if an important date is coming up or an important figure who needs to be discussed, I think I'll make some of those discussions off in some of the segments. But shot and killed January 13th, 1970. W.L. Nolan, Cleveland Edwards, and Alvin, they called him Alvin Sweet Jugs Miller, were gunned down in the, not Solano, but the Soledad. I think if I said Solano at the beginning of the video, I duly apologize. No, but it was a Soledad State Prison, which is located in Monterey County. Now, W.L. Nolan, in particular, was he was a iconic. He was and is an iconic figure of the Black prison movement, which we know that the Black prison movement is interconnected with the Black liberation movement. W.L. Nolan was rumored, I don't know, I wasn't there, right? But he was rumored to be the supreme commander of the Black guerrilla family at the time of his killing. So, just to give you a little historical background. As we know, the California Department of Corrections, in its effort to destroy the newly formed Black guerrilla family, they started targeting the leaders, and a lot of people were in the hole. And again, and I've talked about this in previous videos, you had the blacks on one side. The blacks and the Northern Mexicans enjoyed a tentative coalition, right? But a lot of times, the blacks would fight the wars, or the Northern Mexicans would fight their wars with the enemies. One group would be isolated, so they it wasn't like you had the Mexican mafia, the Arab, but all these people on the main line. They found a way to isolate and keep confined to the whole Northern Mexicans, as well as the Black guerrilla family in particular. But on this particular day, and everybody knew what was going to happen. Everybody knew that there was going to be a physical altercation on O Wing. O Wing at the time was the lockup unit in Soledad State Prison, or Soledad, however you want to pronounce it. So W.L. Nolan, who was rumored to be the supreme commander of the Black guerrilla family, Cleveland Edwards, and Alvin Sweet Jugs, they were let out on the yard with 4 white inmates who were all Aryan Brotherhood. Now, back in those times were very volatile. So when those groups, and especially in the hole and settings like that, it was just on site. There's just no way those type of groups could be let on a lockup yard and there not be a confrontation. While the inmates thought that it was just going to be a fist fight, the California Department of Corrections had some else in mind. And once the 2 groups were released to the yard, it was 4 white inmates, from my understanding, and it was, of course, the brothers, W.L., Cleveland Edwards, and Alvin. So they let these brothers out in the yard with their arch rivals at this particular point. I don't think that the Mexican mafia had elevated to the status back in 1970 of arch rival. I could be wrong, but at some point, the BGF was smashing the Aryan Brotherhood so viciously inside the California Department of Corrections that they had no win against the BGF, right? And the Mexican Mafia, who are and were allies at the time to the Aryan Brotherhood, the Mexican Mafia became the chief arch nemesis of the Black guerrilla family, outside of that of the California Department of Corrections of the U.S. government. But anyway, so there was a guard in the tower, and at this particular time in the history of the California Department of Corrections, they weren't armed with the Mini 14. They were armed with 30-06 rifles, which are way more powerful than the Mini 14. The Mini 14 is gonna blow you away for sure. You get hit with a round from that. A lot of people have survived, but I wouldn't want to take a shot from a Mini 14. But 3 shots were fired. 4 shots were fired at the melee. They came on the yard, and I don't know who attacked who, but it went up on the yard, right? Alvin, Brother Cleveland, and W.L. Nolan were fatally shot by Opie G. Miller. That's the name of the guard that was in the tower, Opie G. Miller. So he's just as famous in Black history as W.L. and them because he fired the fatal shots. And one member of the Aryan Brotherhood was struck in the groin area. If they blew his sack off, then I'm sure he wanted to die, right? I wouldn't want to be around with that, right? So anyway, 3 days later, the Monterey District Attorney's Office said that the shooting was justifiable homicide. Okay. 3 days after that, from my understanding, John V. Mills, who was a young white correctional officer who worked in Soledad at the time, he was beaten and thrown over the 3rd tier to his death. And when he impacted, his body impacted that hard surface on the first floor of the, prison's floors are extremely hard. You don't want to get slammed on them or nothing like that because it can be dangerous. But when he was thrown over that tier and his body slammed lifeless against that floor, that ushered in a new era of the Black prison movement. And, George Jackson, John Clasheet, and the other brother, I can't believe he's escaping my mind right now, Fleeta Drumgo. They were taken into custody, and they eventually became known as the Soledad Brothers. George Jackson, we don't want to I'm not going to discuss George. George is he is the most iconic figure ever to emerge in the prison system anywhere in the country. George Jackson. He's even more famous than myself. I'm just playing. But yeah, so it ushered in the Soledad Brothers. But I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. January 13th is a historical day for African Americans. Now, we celebrate August the 13th as a Fleet Cadre Day, and we're not going to go into it. But once August, it's a lot of brothers out of prison right now, so I'm sure that you guys will be getting Black August in its authenticity from the people who actually created it. We got Kenny Carter, who is Bunchy Carter's son. Bunchy Carter was killed on the steps of UCLA back in 1969. The clash between the Black Panthers and the US organization. He's out. We have C. Tawa out. Some Diaz out. There's countless brothers who never thought they would make it to the field again. They've been released by the California Department of Corrections. So, once that center of gravity is created, then you're going to get Black August the way you need to get Black August. It's not going to be a day of commercialism, anything like that. You're going to get the real Black August. But I just wanted to acknowledge that. So, man, let's move on to January the 9th. January the 9th. What What was this stuff at Jimmy Carter's funeral? And that's going to be our JCat of the Week award. I'm going to award it. I'm going to award it today. I should have awarded it last week, but again, we've been going through a snowstorm down here in Tennessee, and I've had some other things going on. So, did you guys see the visceral hatred amongst the? I can't even say that it was amongst the different parties, because did you notice how George Bush Jr. Did you feel the tension between him and President-elect Donald Trump? I mean, we have a guy who's just been elected the president. He's the president-elect to be sworn into office, I think, January the 20th, and you come to Jimmy Carter's funeral, another president, and you don't even speak to this man. You walk straight past him. You walk straight past President Donald Trump or the elect. You walk straight past him. Didn't even acknowledge him. Didn't even acknowledge him. I mean, he got more conversation out of Barack Obama, who was sitting up there faking, gaslighting, like he was really enjoying the conversation with little fake laughs and all that old kind of stuff. He got more conversation from what we saw there. Now, Donald Trump did say that behind closed doors, he got along with everybody. But they should have had that. They should have portrayed that to the world. I mean, we have a President Jimmy Carter is one of the most famous presidents of all times. When I was little, little, they say, who the president? Oh, Jimmy Carter. I knew that, right? I don't even think some of these kids today even know who the president is. That's how much this society has regressed. It's ridiculous. I heard a report today that said that most kids between 15 and 5 years old from this generation, they don't even know how to change a light bulb. Now, that came off the radio. I don't know. But if that is the case, then who is to blame? But anyway, so did you see the divisions? I don't even want to call them political divisions, because George W. Bush Jr. is a Republican and Donald Trump is a Republican. So there's no political division there, right? This guy didn't even acknowledge, and I'm talking about President Bush, he didn't even acknowledge Donald Trump. And you can clearly see Donald Trump's wife, Melania, her reaction. She was uncomfortable, as well as you could see she was extremely angry. Extremely angry. Correct? Did you see the interaction between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? Now, we can call those political divisions. But again, I say that it's only one party in the United States, and it's the Uniparty. But she didn't even publicly acknowledge Donald Trump. She didn't publicly. Her husband, who was sitting closer to Donald Trump and Barack Obama than she was, didn't acknowledge Donald Trump. Didn't acknowledge. So, I don't want to call these political divisions. Maybe these are divisions amongst the ruling class, because I will continue to reiterate that the political parties in the United States, they're not independent. They represent special interests. So it should have been something that never happened. First of all, Donald Trump, love him or like him, I have no skin in the game. He has been elected to lead the United States on the world scene. We had Barack Obama, George Bush, Donald Trump himself. I mean, the atmosphere, even if you had to gaslight the world, it you never should have shown those political divisions in outright disrespect to a president-elect. Never should have happened. At that particular moment, President Carter was being buried. That should have been the focal point of everyone's attention. Not, oh, I don't like him for this, I don't like her for that. But Kamala Harris, she is a different animal. Now remember, I told you I have mucus running and stuff, right? So I'm about to blow my nose, so please cover your ears because I know it's going to sound disgusting. I'm going to duck off camera. There we go. So, Kamala Harris, she is a part of the Black Sisterhood. The Black Sisterhood is extremely disrespectful to both black men and white men. Most white men, not all white men, but most white men, they are extremely disrespectful. And the reason why they are so disrespectful is because there has developed a delusion in their mind that they are stronger than the colonial authority themselves. And let's not forget that the Black Sisterhood is the gatekeeper of white supremacy. I'm not the only one saying this. For black men, only thing you have to do is just look at your HR staff in this country and a lot of sectors, a lot of regions. HR staff, the head figures are who? Black women. They're going to be the first ones to fire you on your job. You're going to get fired. Right? So yes, they are the gatekeepers of white supremacy. But let's discuss the elephant in the room. Yes, Kamala Harris, she was extremely disrespectful. At that particular moment, whatever animosity or division she felt, she should have tucked it in her back pocket. Come together for the collective of the nation in mourning for President Jimmy Carter. But let's discuss the elephant in the room. One of the most, if the not most, powerful, forever iconic figure to have emerged in the Democratic Party. One of the most ruthless, one of the most scandalous, one of the most dangerous figures to ever emerge out of the Democratic Party, who has carried out assassinations around the world, carried out bombings around the world, carried out color revolutions around the world. I don't think there's, in my lifetime for sure, there hasn't been, maybe Bill Clinton, but I don't know. We could put it on the scales of balance. But in my lifetime, I don't think there's ever been a more dangerous person to have emerged out of the Democratic Party other than Barack Obama himself, who is celebrated around the world. I know my lighting is kind of bad, so I'm going to do this. He's celebrated around the world. Michelle Obama was not there. She did not attend President Carter's funeral. And the excuse given was that it was a conflict, a scheduling conflict. But in the same breath, they say it was a scheduling conflict that overlapped. But they also said she was on extended vacation in Hawaii. Extended vacation in Hawaii. An overscheduling lap. Now let's dissect that for a moment. Of course, if you're on business, then any business partner that you're engaged in, organization that you're doing business with, they're going to understand that attending President Carter's funeral takes precedent over this business deal here. So they're going to allow for the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, to reschedule. That didn't happen. She made Barack Obama sit there by himself. Mike Pence's wife was there. She snubbed Trump also. Of course, Donald Trump's wife, Melania, she was there. She was mad. She was mad, man. Man, that woman angry. She's angry because the way they treat Donald Trump, and I understand. I mean, hell, I had no stake in the election, but it made me mad the way they treated Donald Trump. This is a president-elect. You treat that man with more respect than that. Hell, I don't always get along with law enforcement, but I'm not going to disrespect them when they come. I'm going to respect law enforcement as law enforcement. I don't care how angry I am. You know, I've gotten into a couple scuffles in the past, but, you know, when I'm sober, there's never a conflict, right? So she allowed Barack Obama to attend that funeral by himself. She had the nerve, the gall, not to attend. And from what, you know, unofficial word is, she didn't want to sit close to Donald Trump. But they're also saying that there might be some type of divisions within the Obama marriage itself. Whatever the case may be. You don't, first of all, not attend. You're one of the most important figures in Black America. You were once the first lady. Your husband was the president. You don't allow for your husband to go to that funeral and sit by himself, where he was forced, and I say he was forced to engage in small talk with Donald Trump because she wasn't there, right? And again, let's go back to the Black Sisterhood. Michelle Obama is the leader of the Black Sisterhood in America. Her and Oprah Winfrey. They are the leaders of the Black Sisterhood. The women who are the Black Sisterhood, they are the most educated of Black women in this country. Officially, when I say officially, I'm talking about college and degree-wise. They are the most educated. They are the most dangerous because the Black Sisterhood respects no one. Michelle Obama had the nerve to stay on extended vacation in Hawaii while her husband, the ex-president, Barack Obama, one of the most strongest, iconic figures to ever emerge out of the Democratic Party, had to attend a funeral by himself. If that ain't disrespect, if that's not disrespect, I don't care what type of animosity you had towards Donald Trump or whoever else that was in attendance at that funeral. You show up to support your husband. But again, the Black Sisterhood, all across their social media pages, and even some of the white women, they're trying to make excuses for her absence. There is no excuse. There is no vacation. There's no business deal. There is no scheduling overlap that's more important than supporting your husband in attendance at Jimmy Carter's funeral, a former president. So she definitely is going to get the J Cat Award of the week. Michelle Obama's going to get that. She's going to get the J Cat Award of the week. You do not attend that funeral because you don't want to sit close to Donald Trump. That's disrespectful. But again, you know, this is what the Black petite middle class, the men allow this. Black men in America allow for their women to disrespect them with no consequence. So Black women feel that they are in a position, because they're going to run to the slave master if the Black man get physical with them, they feel they're in a position to disrespect you. This is why I said in a previous video, Black men, stop listening to Black women and their political views. We do not care. Take your political views over there and talk to other Black women because it has nothing to do with us Black men. You got to start pushing those Black women to the background because they have not only run the community into the ground, and we see this with a generation of kids that's been born in the country, the total regression, right? But politically, they're going to keep you stagnant because they have a stake in preserving the status quo. They have a stake in preserving the international rules-based social order as we know it. Yeah, the Black Sisterhood does. right? And every time I get a chance to attack the Black Sisterhood, because they don't represent the views of the Black community, they represent the views of the Black Sisterhood and that of white supremacy. This is why we can't get anything accomplished. This is why Assata Shakur is still sitting down in Cuba and can't come back to America. Notice that the Black Sisterhood, they never mention Assata Shakur. Most people don't even know who Assata Shakur is. But Assata Shakur is in exile down in Cuba. The Cuban government gave her citizenship. They granted her political asylum. And her name has disappeared from the history of Black America. She's in Cuba right now, right? But Michelle Obama, you get the JCAT of the Award a week for your disrespect and for your pseudo arrogance as being one of the top leaders of the Black Sisterhood. You get that, right? You totally did. Not only did you disrespect Barack Obama, you disrespected President Jimmy Carter. You disrespected all of the presidents that was in that room right there. You disrespected America itself. That's what you did by not attending that funeral. But let's move on. So we know we got the fires down in Southern California. And President Zelensky, that's what I call him, Vladimir Zelensky, he's offered to, at a $500 markup, to sell back to the Los Angeles County Fire Department the equipment that the Los Angeles Fire Department gave him during the war. He said, yeah, I'll give it back to you. And I'll send 150 firefighters from Ukraine to Los Angeles to help fight the fire. Right? Okay. Now, again, I'm telling you right now that President Putin is the most powerful leader to have emerged during my lifetime. By far, no leader can touch President Putin. And I always joke, they say, well, I say, my president sits in the Kremlin, which he does, President Putin. There's two men right now in the political, on the geopolitical level, maybe three, that I'll take a bullet for, right? President Putin is one. Without question, unambiguously, I'll take a bullet for President Putin. I'll jump in front of the gun for him, right? Number two is Ibrahim Traore over in Burkina Faso. Without question, I'm going to take a bullet for him, right? And I'm thinking that Kim Jong-un is moving up into the number 3 place. You know what I'm saying? Because, I heard some of his speeches, and that guy isn't playing. He isn't playing. So, speaking of Kim Jong-un, Ukraine has, if you've been following the news as of late, it says that it's captured for the first time 2 alive but wounded North Korean soldiers. Now, I don't know how true this is, because let me go to my notes right here, right? And Vladimir Zelensky says that they haven't been in a position to not only capture alive North Korean soldiers, but even to retrieve their bodies. And that when they are in a position to try to capture a North Korean soldier alive, that either the North Korean soldier or a Russian soldier deletes those about to be captured and burn their faces off. Now, do you believe that? First of all, they showed no physical evidence of North Korean troops being in the cursed area. We've seen nothing physically, right? They showed us drone footage from, we don't know how many meters up. They showed us drone footage of tiny little figures moving around on the ground, using infrared or some other technology. But they never showed us physical evidence of North Korean soldiers being involved in the fighting or even stationed on the soil of Russia as a military force. They've never shown us. And I'm sure they have some personnel over there. Everyone does. But as a fighting force, they've shown us no evidence. I got to blow my nose again, cover your ears, because I know it sounds disgusting. Hold up. Okay, I'm back. But they're saying that they have physically captured 2 North Korean soldiers. And from what I understand, these soldiers had identification from another region of Russia. Now, we know there are a lot of Asians that support, Russia is Eurasia. We know this. And that there are a lot of Asians that look Asian who are fighting in this war on both sides. But North Korean soldiers, that's something different. And North Korea itself has categorically denied that it has any soldiers physically stationed as a fighting force in Russia or the war against Ukraine. I do understand that Russia and North Korea signed a mutual military aid pact that if one side is attacked, the other side will come to its defense. So I'm having a hard time believing. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't North Korean soldiers in Russia stationed as a fighting force. I'm saying that why would North Korea deny it? Everyone knows that you have a mutual aid pact, a military pact. They're about to sign a military pact with Iran. Russia is. So why would you try to hide the fact? Why would you go through all of the shenanigans, all the smoke screens, all the gaslighting, and give a North Korean soldier a passport from another part of the world? I mean, hell, if I'm in a military pact with somebody, I'm wearing my flag. Yes, this is what I represent, and when my body is down or captured, then they're gonna know because I got my flag on me. This is what I represent. This is me here, right? There will be no deniable plausibility or denial at all. Once captured, you'll know where I'm from. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, right? But let me go back to President Putin and the wildfires of Los Angeles. I don't know if the Russian government is trolling or what, but they have offered Californians who've lost their homes come to Russia. They're gonna provide people from California with temporary shelter until their homes are rebuilt. Now again, I don't know if the Russian government is trolling, but President Putin has offered it through his foreign ministers. Well, not Sergei Lavrov, but the Russian government has made the offer. Now, will America allow for people who've been displaced by the fires in California, would they allow them to go to Russia temporarily and be provided shelter in Russia while their homes are being rebuilt in California? I don't know. I'm not a part of the government. But I just wanted to tell some of you brothers out there, right? Because I have, Son Dai, his house was burnt down in this fire. So I'm going to let Son Dai know that our president, Putin, who sits in the Kremlin, the Putin, that he's allowing for people from California, or, he's put the offer out there. He's going to allow for people from California to come to Russia and be temporarily housed. Now, if I was one of those persons, I'm not coming back. Most black men in America, we have nothing here to keep us here. We have nothing in America. So if I go anywhere, any part of Africa, it could be the Sahara Desert, I'm not coming back. I have no stake in the survival of America. None. So if I'm offered an opportunity to come to another country, I'm leaving. And I'm not coming back. I just wanted to throw that out there. This video has went on for almost 35 minutes. Let me look at my notes. I just wanted to bring some of the latest news Oh, there appears that a ceasefire deal is on the table. This time, a real ceasefire deal between the murderous regime of Israel and Hamas, the guerrilla fighters, the liberators of the Palestinian people. And I don't know if this has anything to do with the changeover of government, with Biden and the Democrats being phased out and Donald Trump and the Republicans being phased in. But, it's kind of ironic that this so-called peace deal is being reached or in the making. And everyone, including Trump, is saying that that a deal is in the making. Right? So I can't say if I was Hamas what I would do, because right now the Palestinians they've suffered definitely this century. I mean, what, we 1 month? I mean, excuse me, 1 month into the new year. No one on the planet has suffered more than the Palestinians during 2025, 2024. Now, we have other conflicts around the world that are less talked about. Conflicts, over in certain African conflicts, the Sudan, conflicts over in the Sahel region. But on the sheer magnitude of the violence engineered by one people against the other, I haven't seen that type of engineered violence nowhere in Africa. And again, the African conflicts are less attractive to the world, so the world really doesn't talk about the African conflicts. But for sure, we saw what that murderous, jackbooted thug regime in Israel did to the Palestinians. We saw it, the world saw it. And those are images that I'll never forget. I will never forget what I saw happen in Gaza. Not in my lifetime has this ever occurred. But I don't think, well, do I want to say that? Because again, the Palestinians, the suffering had to come to an end. But Netanyahu should be a part of the peace deal. He should be a part of it. He should be immediately arrested and sent to The Hague as a part of the peace process. But Israel, America, they would never agree to that. They would never agree to hand over Netanyahu as a component of the peace formula. So that's off the table. But Netanyahu, him and other Israeli officials, they have to be punished. They have to be brought to justice before the world. The ICC isn't going to be able to get their hands on him. The United States government, both Democrat and Republican, the Uniparty, voted to sanction the ICC or the ICJ. So the United States government is not only complicit because they armed the Israeli regime in a lot of instances, provided them with intelligence in most instances, and encouraged them to wage a war of terrorism against the people of Palestine, the people of Lebanon. Syria collapsed, and Iran itself. They actually allowed for that terrorist regime over in Tel Aviv to strike the Iranian consulate in Syria. Unprecedented military actions. Unheard of. But this is what they allowed. But Netanyahu should have been a part of the peace formula and not from a position of negotiation, but from a position where he's thrown in handcuffs and marched off to The Hague for committing crimes against humanity. He should have been a part of that deal. So I hope that a peace formula or the deal is reached. I mean, Hamas, let's go ahead and return the hostages. I mean, those people were powerless from the start. We didn't know, the world didn't know, and I'm sure you guys didn't know the response that Israel was going to go to in order to destroy you, the Palestinians, the whole Gaza Strip, and all of that. The few hostages that are alive, and I don't believe as many left alive. Let's return them to their people. Their people need them. I'm in full support of the hostages being returned. You know, and let's try not to do that again. Not unless you are for sure to be in a position to completely defeat your enemy. Gotta blow my nose again. Hold up. Close your ears. Disgusting. Okay, I'm back. Rocco's outside barking. That's the I want to get off the chain bark. But yeah, let's return the hostages. And we got to go back to the drawing board on how we're going to be able to get a Palestinian state. Because the Palestinians deserve a state. They've been under colonial rule for almost 100 years now, direct colonial rule. They deserve a state. They deserve a government that represents their interests. They deserve economic freedom. I don't think, at least from the Palestinians' perspective, I don't think that they cannot live in some type of mutual agreement or peace with Israel. Now, from the Israeli side, especially the Zionists, those who support Zionism, we know that Zionism could not survive with a Palestinian state. Zionism will have to transform into something much more or much less deadlier. Something much less maligned. At least that's my thinking. But on that note, this video is run for 42 minutes and I just rambled on. We're going to go ahead and we're going to bring this video to an end. And yes, Michelle Barack Obama, you have been awarded JCAT of the Week Award, which I don't think is going to be too many other JCAT awards that are going to top you. So you're probably going to end up winning the award at the year, but you were very disrespectful for that. You should have rescheduled everything you was doing and quickly flew back to the United States or the mainland. You should have been there to support your husband and show respect for a former president. But instead, you have inflamed some sectors of America even more. And I'm sure that you're going to start to feel fallout. People who once supported you are going to look at you in a different light right now because that was very disrespectful. You should have been there to support your husband, first of all. Your husband should not have been forced. And again, I say forced, which he really wasn't forced. He should not have been forced to sit there and conversate with Donald Trump as much as he did. Because if you would have been there, then he would have been talking to you. So you openly disrespect your husband, you openly disrespect America, and you solidify the already visceral attitudes that a lot of black men in particular have against the Black Sisterhood. So did it help your cause or did it hurt your cause? The Black Sisterhood, they cheered you on. Not one of them have stepped out into the open and criticized you for your lack of integrity with this situation right here, because it was a lack of integrity. It was a planned lack of integrity. You wanted to show the world that, hey, I'm mad about this here. Now, I don't want to sit close to Donald Trump. I don't want to be in the same room with him. Well, you should have been in the same room with him. You should have been in the same room with him like Kamala Harris did, even though she disrespected Donald Trump. Even though she's an iconic figure within the Black Sisterhood movement, which at some point we're going to have to destroy. The Black Sisterhood is going to have to come to an end. And black men from all walks of life in America, you have to stop supporting the Black Sisterhood. Quit voting for them. Quit giving credence to their campaigns. They have to be isolated. They have to be identified, isolated, and neutralized. That's what has to happen to the Black Sisterhood. If Black America is ever to reform, healthy reformation, the Black Sisterhood has to die in its totality. There can be nothing left of the Black Sisterhood. Nothing left of the Black Sisterhood. See, the Black Sisterhood, they only play this crap in America. They can't play it anywhere else outside of America. They can't play it in Asia. They can't even play it in Africa. They can't play it in the Middle East. They can't play it in South America. They can only play that game here in America because, again, they are the gatekeepers of white supremacy, and white supremacy allows them to get away with this game that they playing because no other men around the world is going to tolerate it. No man of importance. You've never seen a female general sit down at the table, across the table, and there's other generals on the other side, and they're negotiating peace. No male general is going to sit down at the table and negotiate with any female, period. This is why Kamala Harris was never going to be the president. Kim Jong-un, President Putin, no one is going to sit across the table and talk to a woman as volatile as the situations are in the world today. Only black men do that crap in America because black men right now are being led around by their women. They're weak right now. No other race of men does it. The Hispanic men don't do it. The Asian men don't do it. The Russian men don't do it. No one does it. You've never heard the Asian community complain about the Asian sisterhood. White women stay in their place. Arab women stay in their place. They know their position. It's only in black America that these cretins come out and think they're something that they're not. So I advise all black men, back up off them, start pushing them to the background, period. Michelle Obama, you get the JCAT of the award week, and you're probably going to be awarded the JCAT of the award year. On that note, we're going to end this video. So we went on for 47 minutes, and I want to get it out. We're going to be making more videos in a couple of days. On that, Chalewa.